I'm a feminist, but I love John Oliver from Last Week Tonight so much. If he asked me to clean his house while he watched, I would. Like, definitely. And I feel like might be the kind of podcast he listens to. So, John, if you're listening, or someone who works for you is listening and plays you this because they think it's funny to play you this in the writer's room, that offer stands.
I think he's amazing. It makes every time I watch Last Week Tonight, I feel sad that we didn't keep him. Like he didn't keep him here.
We're never going to offer him that. There's so much money goes into that show to do that kind of quality research.
I know. We just want to touch him. Okay. I'm a feminist, but I spent £100 on a serum containing vitamin D and was surprised that my skin didn't overnight gain the texture of a posh card you might buy from a boutique and still maintains the texture of a birthday card you'd buy at a corner shop for an aunt you did not like. I was so sad. Oh. I thought it would be magic. Because the lady on the blog said it would be magic.
I know. I tried on some miracle cream that's meant to be for summer legs.
So and when I put these magic words in.
Yeah, so I tried it on my white, very, very white winter legs. It's a fucking miracle. And I said to the woman, it's just like a bit of brown streakiness. And I just went, when a product's called Miracle, I am expecting a road to Damascus moment. Yeah. I'm expecting to hear angels cry.
But then if it did turn your legs into brown, that would be a miracle. Wouldn't you be afraid? Would you be like, this cream is like, what has happened to me?
No,
you'd be happy.
I would be...
I spent so much money at Space NK, they gave me a special VIP card, and that's when I realised I had a problem. There's a special card, like a Black Nando's card. They sent it to me.
That one.
Oh, you need to have a real anxiety about your face. Yeah, they sent it and they were like, congratulations, you've got a VIP card. By the way, it's because you spent this much money.
Right. No.
So then I stopped. Okay.
I'm interested in the Nando's one.
Yeah.
I'm a feminist, but I would work for John Oliver in Last Week Tonight's writer's room for 50 cents on the dollar and not tell anyone if it meant I got to work on his show. I just wouldn't tell anybody. That could happen. If you see me hired on his show, you can ask me, are you paid 50% less than the boys? And I'd be like, no,
I feel like you've undersold yourself, because they might have asked you to write in it, but they'll go, oh, she's willing to do it for half the fee. So now they'll be like, oh, cool, we'll just pay her less. She actively said she wouldn't mind.
Yeah, but if he hears it, he might think, good, cheap hire.
Yeah.
And then when I'm over there, he'll see how good I am.
Yes, and pay you more.
And then, doesn't matter, I'm there in the room. It's irrelevant at that point.
I'm a feminist, but I can't spell feminist, and I had to ask my husband what autonomy meant. It doesn't count as mansplaining if you ask them to do it. I genuinely last night was like, what do you think of autonomy? And he explained it, and I was like, and what is that what it means? And he was like, yes, did you just want to know what it meant? I was like, yeah, I was confused. Because when we had a chat about it, I thought it was slightly something else. And then he was saying stuff, I thought, well, that's not what I thought.
You can Google stuff, you know that.
I know, but I was very tired.
Yeah. I'm a feminist, but if I had to choose between going back in time to help the suffragettes win the vote and going back in time to be a young Robert Downey Jr.'s girlfriend, helping to save him from himself, I would argue that we definitely already get the vote without me, but 1980s Robert Downey Jr. really needed the help. He's a broken biscuit.
I am all for that because it's Robert Downey. What can I say? It's Robert Downey Jr.
I mean, you can't argue with them.
I'm a feminist, but I sometimes watch Loose Women and think maybe we shouldn't have been given the vote. Just sometimes.
Live from King's Place in London, the Spontaneity Shop presents The Guilty Feminist with Deborah Frances-White and guest co-host Cariad Lloyd and very special guest Gemma Arterton talking about autonomy. This is The Guilty Feminist, the podcast in which we explore our noble goals as 21st century feminists and the hypocrisies and insecurities which undermine them. Next on The Guilty Feminist, Insights with Cariad Lloyd.
I'm going to give you a brief history of autonomy in case some people don't know what that word means and needed to look it up. Well, as you know, Deborah, I didn't do a history degree, so here is my fully qualified version of the history of autonomy. Autonomy was invented by a man in 1650. He realised he could do whatever he wanted whenever he felt like it. He realised this as he shat on a small peasant boy. He lived in France. That has nothing to do with why he was shitting on a small boy. Don't be racist. His name was Autonomy. And once he came to his precious realisation, he began to do what all men do best, name things after himself. See the Eiffel Tower, Christmas Day, and all surnames everywhere. Once Monsieur Ni realised he had the power to do anything, he became overjoyed. He ran through the streets of his cobbled village and shouted at the baker, "Tu les amants, tu sais mon les gars tout doué, les fous et les manger pour l'arsudo," which is fake French. For sweet Lord, I just rubbed my bum on all the church pews and no one could stop me. It must be noted that Monsieur Ni had a very base sense of humour, which is unfortunate for those who have to study him. Word spread amongst all the men that they could do anything, and it was at this point that they stopped braiding their hair and wearing dresses when they realised they didn't have to. They began to grow beards. Many of the women were also doing this. They didn't mean to, it's just what happens after 30. But the men became jealous of their luscious, spiky beards, and so began to laugh at the women, who were then shamed into plucking their chins. Women's chins became extremely sore as they were constantly feeling them to check if there were any hairs there. Even when they were talking to their friends and they knew they weren't there, they were convinced that if they could feel it and pull it out with their fingers, it would be dealt with. This is where the common phrase, chin up, comes from. This was code amongst women to each other to hint they had got a big hair and they should keep their chin up near a mirror and sort it out. And stop letting us all down. By the 18th century, men were doing exactly what they wanted. See the birth of colonisation, for examples. No. Women had a brief respite in this century when men were eating so much cheese that they didn't notice they were wearing comfy dresses and reading books. In fact, by the 19th century, women were writing successful books, like Jane Austen and the Bronte United sisters. And they had proven, while gaining their own autonomy, that they could in fact become equal to the men. This, of course, frightened the men, and that's why from 1814 it became illegal for a woman to own property, say she wanted sex, or be the Queen. Queen Victoria only just managed to circumnavigate this ruling by dressing as a man whenever she met other men. Men are notoriously shy, and they were too polite to ask her if she was a man or not, and that's how she reigned for so long. By the 20th century, it was expected that women would gain their own autonomy finally. But, like the unexpected career of Michael Bublé, you never can tell what people will go for. The suffragette movement allowed women over the age of 30 who were householders to vote in 1918, but women over the age of 21 didn't get the vote until 1928. A year later, the Wall Street crash occurred, confirming the age-old theory that if you give women political autonomy, they will affect the stock markets, which is why a woman has never been allowed to be Chancellor of the Exchequer. Not a joke, a fact. You may think that in 2017, women are now fully autonomous. We own bank accounts, we can forget our own PIN numbers, we can leave our debit cards in bars because we got a round in for everyone and somehow we still paid for an Uber. We can vote in a constituency where it makes literally no difference what our vote will do. And we can wear whatever clothes we want, knowing we will all feel fat in Topshop jeans. We have achieved westernised, idealised version of autonomy. Huzzah! We should all feel very proud and realise there is no more work to be done. Sorry, that should read, we should all feel very sad and realise there is a huge amount of work to be done.
Please welcome to the stage a wonderful, wonderful actor, producer, director, all-round fabulous feminist. It's Gemma Arterton.
I'd just like to state that I'm not a director yet, but that's really, really encouraging.
I feel like a man wouldn't say that.
Yeah.
I think he'd go, well, I'd better direct something before the podcast comes out.
Yeah. And then everyone would be like, give him some money, he's a man, he wanted it.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I reckon if you wanted to direct something, they'd just let you.
I got offered my first directing job only yesterday.
Oh!
So you are a bloody director?
Well, I'm going to turn it down.
Oh.
No, I don't.
That's even more powerful than saying yes, though.
Yeah,
that's the most powerful thing you can do in show business is when you can start saying no.
Yep.
That's a great day, isn't it?
When you say no, Gemma, they'll be like, offer her more. She's acting like a man.
Offer her a better script, offer her something else. Why are you turning it down? Can you tell us?
It's not quite right. Like, if I do... The first thing I want to direct has got to be, not perfect, but it's got to mean something to me. I don't think I could just blindly go out there and direct someone else's script. I think I'd have to have developed it with a writer.
I think that's great, though. The minute you start saying no to things change for you.
Oh, yeah. It absolutely does. It's like when you actually put it out there and say no,
Yeah.
that's so powerful. People don't know what to do with it.
They can
go,
get flummoxed.
Why?
Are you more likely to say no now that you've played Joan of Arc?
Yeah.
Because she was such a badass. And I think it's hard to kind of
She loved
play
saying no,
that
didn't she?
character and just demanding that everyone do what she wanted. I think it would be hard to play that character every night and not be affected by her physicality and her spirit.
Yeah, actually, that's right. I've never really thought about it, but she had such conviction, and it was sort of single-minded. You know, she completely, I guess because she was so inspired and so connected to God in her mind, she was unfaltering in her pursuit. I think women, we're not used to being like that. And
Well, she got her confidence from a higher power.
Yeah.
Like if I'm being told by God, and I remember that
Yeah.
as a fundamentalist religious person, if they'd told me to die for the cause, I would have done a Joan of Arc.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Because the reason I wanted to play
Oh, yeah, but
Slightly regret not doing it.
I was just waiting for the call. Come on, God.
Oh, totally. If I'd thought Jehovah had wanted me to be Joan of Arc, I would have, and I would have died for it completely.
Wow.
Because it's a higher power giving you confidence.
Yeah.
My question is, can feminism be our higher power?
Yeah, I think so, but I think it's going to take time for us to have the conviction in a philosophical belief rather than a magical, well, some people feel, whatever you feel, a being that you can't see or hear or understand.
But I find it something really, really good to hold on to. It's like, for me, feminism, it is a job. It's like you hold on to that, and then even when it's sort of stormy outside, you know you're aiming for that.
I think it gives you a sense as well of like when you are saying no to things, you know you're doing it for the right reasons sometimes. So sometimes if you get a script where you're like, it makes you feel a bit uncomfortable, but you're not sure, and you sort of, like you say, check in with feminism. Like, hey, feminism, is this script actually bad or is it sexist? And they go, it's sexist, don't do it. And you're like, thanks, feminism. So it
whereas
gives you,
before, when I wasn't really
like,
aware
confidence.
of feminism, I just blindly go about doing stuff.
That's right.
And
I was thinking.
It's a good barometer.
I used to do a character called Joey Bechamel. Joey Bechamel, who's a spoof Zoe Deschanel, and she used to like fall over all the time and ask men if they were hard. And that was the joke, basically. It was like, and I did a gig, and I did it ages ago, and I used to pick on a guy and ask him if he's hard, and then say I liked Star Wars, and it was very silly. And a bloke in the audience afterwards, I walked off, and he went, as I left, he said, "I'm going to rape you." Yeah, right. Now, I only remembered this the other day, and I remember at the time and I went, "Oh, fuck you, no you won't," and walked off. And I thought, oh, that's a gig. And I thought, oh my God, that I was so unaware at that point. This was very early in my sort of character stand-up career. I thought, God, I was so unaware of feminism that I just thought, oh, that's just a gig. That man was just allowed to say that. And now, like you said, what happens now? You get older and you think, oh my God, I would be like, no, that's not okay. And feminism has taught me that that's not okay.
Would you still do the character? It was a brilliant piece of satire. I loved that character. And the point of it was not either to take the piss out of Zoe Deschanel.
No, it was to spoof the idea of a manic pixie dream girl.
But I'm interested to know is if you do point at a man in the audience and go, are you hard, are you hard, are you hard?
Yeah.
If a man did that to us,
Yeah.
we would then go, that's not consensual.
Yeah, I mean, I think what I learned is to choose your audience member carefully.
Yeah.
Because when you chose the right audience member, and it would always be a man, and the joke was that he was a geek and that's why he would fall in love with it. And maybe this is an unfair thing to say, but I would choose someone who seemed a softer, not aggressive man, and it was dark, and I just picked a man, and then after I picked him, I thought, oh, you're an aggressive young man, this is only going to go one way. Because obviously he felt like I was taking the piss out of him and didn't see the satire behind the programme.
Do you ever feel that, Gemma? When you look at roles, you don't know what they're going to become. Have you got a better eye now for what you...
I think I've got a better eye now. From the offset, I'll be thinking about that, whereas before I just felt very grateful that anyone was asking me to work. So I just go, yeah, okay, fine, I'll do it. Oh, really? You want me to jump over the fence in a hot pads that go up my arse and then walk away from camera while the camera goes up my arse? Fine! Yeah. Thank you for giving me this work. Yeah, now I would question all of those things, but it's really difficult. It's not difficult, but when you're young and you're feeling very grateful.
And I don't want to judge young women who are taking those roles because you've got to eat. And, if that's being offered and you think, well, it'll be a step towards something else. Have you ever seen that?
Well, it was a step towards something else for me as well.
Well, now you're playing Joan of Arc in the West End and you're playing who's the most powerful, autonomous figure, and you're playing the writer in their finest, who's this amazing kick-ass Second World War screenwriter. So it has led to something else, but you've pushed it towards something else. You could have gone to Hollywood pretty easily.
But I also feel like it's because of the kind of bad stuff that I've gone through that has led me to react in the way that I have, and now my reactions are quite strong in what I choose. So, yeah.
How do you deal with directors? They've got so much power, and that's the problem with it. They've got entire power. And sometimes I think producers and directors have a lot of power, and you would have to rock the boat significantly. Like, you'd have to walk off a film at some point, and then you're the one with the bad reputation. And it's happened to women where they've spoken out or they've walked off something and they've ended up with a bad reputation.
I just avoid working with anyone difficult now.
Do you?
Yeah.
Do you know who that is?
I have an instinct and do research, but I just will know when someone's a dick now. Oh, they're a dick, I'm not going to work with them. You can get that quite quickly. And like on my films that I'm producing, with the other actors, I'll say, who is it you don't want to work with? Because I won't have any dicks on set. And honestly, life's too short to work with people that make you feel like shit.
What do you do if you see a younger actor now in your position? Have you had that experience of seeing a younger actor, and feeling like, she's doing exactly what I used to?
No.
Is there a network of film stars who are like, hey, come here, let me help you?
I would definitely want to dish out the advice.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I go into my drama school that I went to and I talk to the first years there and I say, please don't change yourself because everyone's going to try and change you. And actually, that's the most valuable thing about them is their absolute originality. And you feel like you need to be like that last person that was really successful. And actually, that's not true at all. It's just something that people tell you to do. The people that are really successful are themselves most of the time. And that's just absolutely true in comedy. You can't be like somebody else. It's just, it wouldn't work.
Yeah, it's that manifestation of autonomy. It's the first jump towards autonomy that's the hardest, I think. That confidence to go, what I am is enough.
Yeah.
And if I trust, we used to say at RADA with the improv class, trust your obvious, trust what's obvious to you.
Yes, it's really difficult when you're impressionable and young and other people are telling you stuff and they've got more experience or influence and you think, well, maybe they know, but actually they don't. You should just go and do what you want to do.
No, it's hard though, isn't it? Because I think you're right. You have to sometimes have the bad gigs and the bad experiences and picking on the wrong audience member or having the terrible director say horrible things to you literally force you to learn the lesson.
Yeah.
I wonder if there isn't a way of, maybe you just can't avoid it. Maybe you just have to go through these unfortunate experiences to learn how to be strong. Is that too sad and depressing?
No, I think actually experience is... But I also think confidence is the product of our experience.
Yeah.
And sometimes you see people get more and more fragile as they get older because they've had more and more and more difficult knocks. The thing that I realised about 5 years ago is that I was never going to get the email saying, you're a grown-up now, you know it, you're all right, trust your instinct. Like I was waiting for someone to tell me, well, you're the one now, you're the one who knows.
You're waiting for a Jehovah's Witness person to knock on your door and go, congratulations, God says it's all right.
That was the opposite of what I was waiting for. I was waiting for an email from science telling me it's all right now. Like, you know it, you're the grown-up, you're the one who is able to trust your instincts. Because who are these people making all the decisions? Who are these people that know more than we do? Like, obviously there's doctors and things who know more about open heart surgery, and I'm not in any way...
I can do it. Give me the surgeon's gloves and the scalpel. Come on.
It's just sexism that they haven't been offered. But do you know what I mean? Like, in the things that I'm good at, why is it I assume there's someone better than me?
Oh, it's about validation, I think, like we're saying. It's why do you need somebody to say it's okay to do it, rather than just, I want to. I just want to do it.
And I think we've got to send ourselves that email or send each other that email.
I will send you all that email.
Will you? Yeah.
I will. I love I'm not very good at saying it to myself, but I love saying it to others.
Well, that's what we have to do, I think. You know, the women in Obama's staff started shining, I don't know what they called it, but it's like shining a light on each other.
Oh, nice.
So they'd amplify each other. So if, say, Obama's there, let's pretend. So Obama's there, Gemma's there.
John Oliver's there, and Robert Downey Jr. is there.
Is there? Sure. So Cariad and Gemma and I are all staffers, are all white. Can we just get into the proper West Wing fantasy? Those people can't be there.
Okay.
West Wing. So West Wing fantasy. So the three of us are all staffers, but there's also boy staffers all around. Okay, so Gemma says something about some idea about policy. So could you just say something about policy?
I have a really great idea about policy that you're all going to just kick yourselves that you didn't have.
Could you name the policy? Could you just give it a quick name?
Oh, make it hard as possible. And actually, have you got some accounts and budgets that prove the policy works?
To demonstrate it, I just need to
The
have a name.
policy on what?
No, it doesn't matter, just give it a name. It could be the dog policy.
Okay. The bling, right to wear bling policy.
Right to wear bling policy. So then what I do, because what Pete's going to do is just going to steal the idea.
God, I hate Pete.
Pete's going to just go in.
He's
Could
such
we
a
have
dick.
Man in the front row, could
Pete.
you just pretend to be Pete? So could you just start talking, could you just take her idea? So there's Obama there, he's there, and could you just...
Right to wear bling policy. I came up with that a few weeks ago.
Pete always does this.
Perfect. So I then amplify Gemma and I go, I loved it when Gemma came up with the right to wear bling policy because she first pitched it to me before... Actually, Pete, you weren't there yet, were you? It was interesting. No, you were. In fact, I believe you were flirting with somebody in the hallway when we came up with this. Because you're never on time, Pete. That's what you know. No, it's not. It's actually not about dissing Pete. Sorry, I've forgotten. It's about amplifying Gemma.
But Pete is a dick.
Pete is a dick.
And sorry, Pete, but we all think it.
And then you also, Cariad, now have
I
to...
take Pete outside
No,
and I say,
no,
Pete,
no.
you listen. Okay, sorry.
It's not about
Sorry.
kicking Pete.
Sorry.
Sorry, Pete. Sorry. You then have to amplify Gemma as well.
So I'd be like, that's an excellent idea, Gemma. And I remember you saying it, and I actually remember Deborah saying it to me that you had said it. And I really think the right to wear bling policy, it's something we really need to think about. You know what? God, thank you, Gemma, for raising it.
And then to another man, I need another man over here to be Toby.
Do we like Toby?
You, sir? Could you just change the subject?
I've been thinking more about a bag policy.
Oh, Toby's such a dick.
No. Cariad. No, it's persuasive. It's positive persuasion and influence.
Sorry.
Keep talking, Toby. Keep talking.
Keep talking, Toby.
We're thinking more about bags. There's just a lot of different types of bags, and I feel like we should really constrain the selection more.
That's interesting. That's interesting, Toby. I think that would tie in really well with Gemma's right to wear bling policy, because some bags are bling, but not all bags. That's a good hashtag. But I think fundamentally, when we've got Gemma's bling policy up and running, bags would be a great addition.
I tell you what, Toby, you interrupt.
No.
Thank you. No, Toby, that is a really good point.
Yes.
Thank you for making it. But I think, actually, we really need to focus on Gemma's bling policy right now. For me, maybe it's just me, I feel like that's the pressing issue. That's how I do it. I'm always like, you're so great and clever, well done. Anyway, we were actually talking about this.
It's called a compliment sandwich.
Did that feel a bit yes, but to you, Toby?
Toby,
Did you feel cut off there, Toby? Did you feel... Oh. What was that? Was that the one?
He's disagreeing with the right to wear bling policy.
Tom was in the meeting and we didn't ask him about the bling policy. Come on, Tom.
Oh, I see. The man is upstage. Just as Obama was about to okay the bling policy, a man fell through the door drunk.
And everybody laughed because they understood it.
You cannot win.
Always the man gets the punchline.
So who wants to be Obama? Do we have an American man in? Oh, or a man who can do an American accent. A man who can do Obama.
I can do not like that, no.
And can we have a man who can be Obama?
Or maybe a lady can represent Obama.
Oh.
Wait,
revolutionary. Okay,
Gender
do we have
casting.
anyone who's always had a fantasy about doing Obama? Gemma's idea. Did you like Gemma's idea?
I loved it.
Whose idea did you love?
Gemma's.
Take that, Pete! Take that!
That's what we have to do for each other. Because autonomy is a group sport.
Yep.
If we hang on to the rail of feminism, it's easier to blow someone else's trumpet.
It's
but
so
then
much
later,
easier,
Gemma
yeah.
will blow my trumpet, won't you, Gemma? Won't you, Gemma? Won't you, Gemma?
I will
Won't you, Gemma?
completely
Won't you,
blow
Gemma?
your trumpet. I'm going to have a jazz session on your trumpet.
The rest of you can go. It's just going to be me, Gemma, Cariad, and
not
a live...
Pete. Pete is not involved in the trumpet
Pete's
blowing.
not involved. But Obama can come.
Yeah. Please put your hands together for Deborah Frances-White.
So I want to tell you about the bookends of my journey from lack of autonomy to full-blown autonomy. When I was a teenager, my parents became Jehovah's Witnesses, and I really, really believed it. And if you really, really believe it, what will happen is the elders in your local congregation will start to run your life. Now, the elders, they're just guys who are appointed by other guys who feel the Holy Spirit. And it was an Australian beach town, so it was like, what do you think, Gary? Do you think Darren's got the Holy Spirit on him? Should he be an elder? Yeah, I think he should. I reckon he should. It was like Home and Away, only with an extremely fundamentalist high control group. And what you would find is genuinely, truthfully, this is how I was in my teenage years and early 20s, that 2 plumbers and an electrician would come round to my house and tell me my skirt was too short. So I went to another congregation and moved in with some young women who were in the same situation, and we lived around the corner from some young guys who were in the same situation. That was sort of my uni years, if you will, because we all hung out together and, got in the car together and drove to visit people who'd politely taken the Watchtower magazine and not understood they had to say, please don't come back. As you go back and visit them, until one of you dies. And that's how it is when you're a Jehovah's Witness. So I was pioneering. That meant we had absolutely no money because it doesn't pay to knock on doors, so you have to work 2 days a week in a minimum wage job to survive. And so everyone was very, very broke. Now, the head elder of this region, he's a famous elder. It's basically like a rock star elder, comes around and visits your congregation once a year, and he's called the circuit overseer. If the circuit overseer is coming, there's lots of excitement. Jehovah's Witnesses don't have Christmas, birthdays, anal sex, anything fun. And so when the circuit overseer is coming, it's like a festival. It's like, oh my God, the circuit overseer is coming. And basically he just comes and gives some very serious talks and fucks off again. But it's something that breaks the monotony. So he has, obviously in your congregation, if he's there for a week, he has to be fed 7 times in the evening. So you can apply to have him for dinner. It's a big privilege to apply to have the circuit overseer for dinner. So it always goes to families. But we thought, well, we're a family of young pioneers. And so we're going to ask if we can, as a family of pioneers, have brother Les Simmons, real name, I'm naming him because fuck him, for dinner. And the elders said, oh, that's highly unusual, but that's very sweet of you. Okay, yes. So we chipped in together, because we had fuck all money, to buy some fancy ingredients to have Les Simmons and his wife for dinner. Her name was Barbell. Ugh. Anyway, so, I mean, you try not to judge, but it's very difficult. So we go over to the boys' house because they have a bigger kitchen, and we go into the kitchen. We all make a different part of the meal, and we set the table, and we've all dressed up, and we're very, very excited, and we're very proud of ourselves for doing this. And the circuit overseer comes and his wife, and we have a lovely meal, and they go off, and we think that went very well. The next day, all the pioneers got called into the back room of the Kingdom Hall, which is the Jehovah's Witness church, by Brother Les Simmons. And he said, well, I was shocked by what I saw yesterday. Shocked. We were like, what the... He didn't like the spaghetti bolognese? What? I saw young sisters round in a brother's flat. You girls are so familiar with their kitchen, you just knew where their cutlery was. I just thought, well, it's in the top drawer, isn't it? That is no mystery. In anybody's house, that's the best guess I've got. Yes! You just opened that drawer like you knew what was inside. It was, honestly, it wasn't a... So I don't go around every day and open their cutlery drawer. And he looked down at us and he said, you know what this will lead to? It'll lead to porneia. Now, this was his favourite word for fucking, because it's from the Greek. It's an official Greek root word. He used to say, every young person knows that rock and roll music is the beat of porneia. Every young person knows it, they feel it. You know where they feel it. No need to spell that out. The groin area, the groinal area, that's where they feel it. You're probably feeling it now. You're thinking of some rock music, aren't you? And that's where the devil gets in. He gets in through the groin. So he was looking at us all sitting there and said, this is disgraceful. And look what I'm seeing here. This young sister here, she's got a shoestring strap on her dress. This was 40-degree heat. We're in Australia. We're in Queensland in Australia. I mean, it was so fucking hot. Shoestring strap. And do you know what that's exposing? A shoulder. And this young brother here, and he points to a boy. He points to like a 19-year-old boy. And then he points to another boy, a 21-year-old man. And this young brother here, a 20-year-old man struggling with late-onset virginity. How are they supposed to cope with this? Now, he's going to have a response to that, and he's going to have a physical response to your shoulder. If he looks at that shoulder, he glances over at that shoulder and sees that exposed, he's probably having a physical response to that shoulder, and you don't understand that. As a young sister, you wouldn't understand that because you don't have physiological responses in the same way. No, you don't know about that. You're pure. You don't have those thoughts. But young men, they do have those thoughts. Young brothers have those thoughts. And they're always struggling with onanism. It's a fancy word for masturbation. So we were all horrified, and we were kind of devastated because we'd clubbed together and we'd thought we'd done this really, really wonderful thing. I'll be honest with you, I did not take Brother Les Simmons' advice on that. I tried really hard, we all tried really hard to live up to his exacting standards, but I think I started to think, fuck you. Because if 5 days a week knocking on doors in the sun, and then 2 days a week working in a shop so I can just about pay my rent and keep having my electricity get cut off, and saving up to buy him fucking spaghetti bolognese is still not good enough because I understand that a man might keep a fork in a drawer. It's not good enough, then I can't do this. And I went to London and one thing led to another and that thing led to atheism. Now, I've been out of the religion for many, many years. I would have thought, being a stand-up comedian, that I was totally an autonomous individual. I would have told you that. I would have sworn to that. But 2 years ago, I did a radio show about this and I got contacted by a young man in Canada called Ryan. And Ryan said to me, I heard your radio show, you got out and you managed to get out without being shunned because if the elders know you've done something wrong, none of your family or friends are allowed to talk to you anymore. And so I got on Skype, I ended up talking to him for 4 hours. It was like talking to myself in the past. So I said, how about I come out and help you just for a week? I've got a week in my schedule. He said, oh my God, that would be amazing. To be fair, I think he thought I was more famous than I was because he'd heard me on the BBC. I think he thought I was like Graham Norton or something. And I didn't disabuse him because why ruin it for everyone? So I went out and we had this amazing week and every day we did something he wasn't allowed to do when he was a Jehovah's Witness. We did yoga. You're not allowed to yoga because your mind will go blank and the demons will get in. We did comedy improv because that makes you say yes and. I thought that was good. We did MDMA. And I haven't got time to go into that story now, but it's a good one. And then we decided that we would go to the Kingdom Hall because the elders were basically parked at the front of his house. They were trying to get in. They were trying to get him into a judiciary committee. And I said, at the moment, they think you're apostate, and that's why they're trying to disfellowship you. If we went to a meeting in a Kingdom Hall near yours, the rumour mill would work. It would get back that you'd been to a meeting and they would lay off you for a while and it would buy you some time. So we go to this Kingdom Hall, we go in, we're sitting there, and I'm feeling the old feelings come back. It's like being plugged back into the mains. The songs that they're singing, the prayers, the really boring sermon that's full of obvious inaccuracies, flaws, and circular arguments. And I'm sitting there thinking, God, I can't wait to get out of here, but all we need is for Ryan to be seen. But while we're sitting there, an elder comes up the aisle, taps Ryan on the shoulder and says, we need to speak with you now. And he looked at the back and he went, they've got one of my elders here so that they can disfellowship me now. So I basically led him into the lion's den. So he said, during the song, I'm going to just pretend I'm going to the bathroom and I'm going to quickly make a run for it. Like it's a cop show. And I went, I'll stay here because if I'm here, they'll think you're here. So I'll be the patsy. So off he goes during the song. Prayer happens. I get up. I go to the door. The door is blocked by 2 men. We need to speak with you. Would you follow us, please? And I thought, I think I can buy Ryan some time. I think I can say the right thing. So I follow them into this back room and they lock the door. And they sat down and they said, so you're Ryan's aunt, eh? That was my cover story. And I went, yeah, you're from London, eh? It's hard to make the Canadian accent sinister. But they managed it. And they grilled me for half an hour about what I knew. I'd say, look, I don't really know. Anything I could tell you would be gossip. And they'd be like, oh, we're a couple of elders. You can tell us anything. And I'd say, well, my Bible-trained conscience would tell me that I shouldn't spread rumours. And then they'd be like, fuck. Because that's the Jehovah's Witness version of pleading the fifth. So I had all the loopholes. Like, you can't know the language if you don't know the language. It's impossible. And so I was being perfect and I was so happy. And then about half an hour in, one of them said, so what congregation are you from? Now, I'd researched and rehearsed all of the Ryan stuff, but I hadn't thought they would ask me that. So I just said my last congregation in London, which was Pimlico. That's a rookie move because I've never been disfellowshipped. That's why Ryan wanted to hang out with me. It's only your last congregation that can disfellowship you. So I was like, as soon as I said it, I thought, why did I say it? I'm trying to stop Ryan being disfellowshipped. I'm going to be disfellowshipped, and I still have friends and family in it. And I was like, my heart started beating really fast. And he went, who's the coordinator there? Now, the coordinator's like the head local elder. And I was like, oh, I can't think who it is right now. Thinking, fuck. And then he went, name any elder. Now, I haven't been in this religion for years and years and years. But right at the back of my brain, I would manage to pull out of my head Alexander Armstrong Jones. Now, I said to them, I know that sounds like a Downton Abbey character, but really he is a real elder. He went, and what's his phone number? And I went, why do you need his number? He doesn't know Ryan. And he went, I need to do a background check on you. And I was like, okay, that's it. And I stood up and I said, this is why Ryan doesn't want to talk to you. And this is why nobody wants to talk to you. This is why there is nothing about you or this that in any way represents some kind of loving God. This is why you need to open that door, which you have somehow seen fit to lock a woman in that you have never met. You need to unlock that door and you need to let me go. And they went, okay. And I got up and they unlocked the door and I walked out. And as I walked away, I realised I had been like umbilically connected to this religion because I had never said, let me out, let me go. And it was like a cord was being cut. And I just ran out of the hall, like into a new life. It was absolutely extraordinary. But as I got back to the car, I thought, they've got enough on me now. They know I was lying. They know my congregation, and they've got the name of the elder. So that's it. They can contact and they can disfellowship, and I will be shunned by people. And it's happened. And then I realised, as I opened the car door, they'd forgotten to ask my name. Any questions?
There's someone here. Oh, sorry. You first.
I was going to just apologise for taking the mic, which just seems so
Don't
anti-guilty
apologise,
feminist.
yeah.
I think it's all very well, like this thing of, when you can start turning down the work and it feels really great, which does sometimes when that happens. But, I've heard it on the Guilty Feminist before, this thing of, but when a man is kind of punching above his weight and kind of has that confidence to kind of reach for the thing that he doesn't necessarily feel like is fully qualified for. I wondered if you had any advice for when that's the case. So when you've got to that point where you're like, okay, great, so I'm turning down all the stuff that I don't need to do and I'm doing, what I think I'm good at. What about when you don't think you're good at, but you want to be? How do you... Yeah.
I actually got in a complete pickle the other day because I did this interview and I said, there's this like system in Hollywood where, an A-list actress can finance a film. And I went, and I'm a C. And they put it like on the front cover of the Evening Standard. And my agent went, how dare you say you're a C? Gemma, you are an A. You are an A. Never say you're a C. And she was so upset with me. And it was this big hoo-ha, which is so ridiculous. But it was this hoo-ha.
Could you not say you're a C on my podcast? Because I've told everyone I've got an A.
Yeah.
So...
Awkward.
I'm not the right person to ask about this. I think
it's so British, though, isn't it?
It's so British.
An LA actor would never say that. They wouldn't be able to get a C out of their mouth.
They wouldn't even admit it, even if they knew they were a C.
Oh, if they were Z, they'd say they were A-star.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
I think it's quite a nice thing to sort of... But then I think that's probably not very feminist as well, to put yourself down in that way for a joke, just to make someone, an interview person that you don't know,
It's because it's the only time you get the fucking punchline, Gemma, is when you make it about yourself.
Yeah.
I would say to that, if you want to be good at something and you think you're not, do the things that someone who is good at that thing does.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
What are they doing? Copy that. Like if you see, say you're a bit tentative in meetings and you think, I wish I was good like Barry or Frida.
Not Pete.
Not Pete. No, not Pete, not Toby, but Barry or Frida. Then watch what they're doing. How many times do they speak in the meeting? Take a tally. Process. And if the meeting is 60 minutes long and they're speaking for 10 minutes and there's 6 people there, then they're taking their share. Then you have to think, right, I've got to speak 5 times in this meeting, and I don't think it really matters what you say.
Yeah,
it doesn't.
I agree.
People are saying bollocks in meetings. Just say, I love what you said there, Barry, and I'm going to think about that. I might do a bit of research on that. And Barry will go, brilliant, because you've amplified Barry.
Yeah, I think fake it till you make it is a definite path to go down. To just go, well, I'm going to imagine I'm being them. And
everyone's bluffing.
Yeah.
Everyone's bluffing.
If you literally put yourself in... I find it easier if you go, oh, well, Cariad can't do that. But if you're like, I'm going to pretend to be Barry in this situation. And just in your head for that whole meeting, be like, I am Barry. And that's what I'm doing. And then I think it's easier because then you're like, oh, I didn't do it. I didn't speak. I just pretended to be Barry for an hour.
I've worked with people who are terrified of presenting. And they'll go, oh, so-and-so so good. And I'll go, just show me how they do it. And they can come out And because they're pretending to be someone else, they're brilliant. And then I go, okay, great, so do it like that. And they're like, I couldn't possibly. I'm like, you just did it, though. And they're like, but so I just say, well, every time you present, pretend you're Barack Obama. Yeah. Just honestly pretend you're Michelle Obama for a year. That's honestly the best advice.
Yeah, I think so.
If she wouldn't do it, you're not going to do it.
Yeah.
And I must say, when we're sort of sitting up here talking about turning down work, I really do want to say there are plenty of people in this country right now who cannot turn down any work, who can't get work, who are very poor, and plenty of people around the world who are in a desperate situation. So we're talking about the spirit of saying no. I really don't want to be sort of going, oh, isn't it brilliant when a film star can turn down work? Do you know what I mean?
I'm turning down a lot of unpaid gigs.
No, but do you know what I mean, though? Like,
I'm tired.
I'm just putting that out there.
Yes, I agree.
I know lots of people cannot get work. Please take that in the spirit that we mean it. And I do sometimes think if influential women aren't going to step up to the plate and ask for the same amount of pay, how will anybody else ever get it? That's where it starts. It starts with influential women saying, this isn't good enough for me. But then very keenly we have to say that's not good enough for anybody.
Yeah.
Another question.
There was one over here.
So basically, I'm a linguistics student, and we had a guest speaker in literally just a couple of weeks ago. It's Deborah Cameron from the University of Oxford, and she is basically the leading authority on language and gender. And so I would like to get your views. It's just sort of a general question, because it plays into a lot of previous podcast episodes. Basically, she was saying that the whole idea of telling women to stop saying sorry, to stop saying just, to stop hedging, is actually feeding into the idea that women's behaviour that's typical of women, is less, and therefore we need to alter our behaviour to be more masculine, to be taken seriously, and to have basically our existence validated. And she was saying that, we should, rather than playing into it, don't forward on the BuzzFeed listicles or the Bustle articles, and actually call out behaviour that is typical of men, whereby they don't feel like they need to apologise like women do, i.e. in the sense of...
Yeah, I absolutely see what you mean.
So, because women are more used to having their physical boundaries affronted, and men aren't used to that, women typically apologise for it more than men do. And so, actually, we should call men out for saying, no, it's actually offensive to me that you've, pushed your way into my physical space, and things like that. And so, basically, I feel like, and this is into the autonomy thing as well, telling women to change their behaviour, to be taken seriously and to be validated is taking away part of our autonomy as well. And actually, we should just be accepted. So what if this behaviour is typical of women? That's just the way women maybe feel they are in the world, and maybe we shouldn't have to change ourselves.
I see what you're saying, and I've heard this theory, and I'm delighted to hear about another Deborah. I don't agree at all. I just think it's the product of damage that's been done to us by the patriarchy. The position that she's taking is, we're a bit damaged, we're a bit nervous, we've been tentatively included, and that's why we tentatively self-include. We come into rooms going, will I be included in here? And we shouldn't have to change that, because that just happened to us. And I'm like, but I don't want to be broken because of the patriarchy. I'm not interested in it. It doesn't make me feel good. It's basically like saying, if you had a child who'd been bullied in the playground and now was suffering anxiety and didn't want to go and have a sleepover, I don't think you just go, well, it's not her fault, so she shouldn't work on changing that so she feels happier and has a happier life. I would work with that child, and I want to work with myself. I just don't get it, this idea that it's not typically female, it's typical of people who've been tentatively included or excluded.
I think it's
what I mean?
I think it's a really interesting argument, and this is very niche, but I teach improv, and I teach improv to women sometimes, and I ran a workshop, and I literally was saying in the workshop, sometimes you have to play more like a man and you have to be more aggressive, and one of them raised exactly the same point, was like, well, why can't we play like women? And I think even on just a practical level, I see both sides of points of view. I think they're both completely valid. I just think on a practical level, we live in a patriarchy. It is a man's world. And if you want to get things done sometimes, there are certain ways that it's easier to play in improv if you are playing slightly more aggressively as a man, because they do then go, oh, I see, okay, she's welcome. And you're right, we shouldn't have to, but I kind of feel maybe we do at the moment. And I pray and hope for a time when we don't, but I don't think we're there at the moment. And that's what worries me, to go, oh, well, you have to change. I worry that they won't. And then we're just left going, oh, well, I haven't changed. I'm still saying sorry and you haven't apologised. Oh.
But is that like a woman? I don't think it's like a woman to apologise. I think it's like a woman who's been bullied, or anyone who's been bullied, or anyone who's been disenfranchised. I think anyone who's been marginalised. It's not like a woman. This is when people get into authenticity. So you've got to be authentic self. My authentic self likes to eat cake and lie down.
Yay!
My best self likes to eat fruit and do yoga. And I find if I just do the things my best self does for 3 months, that becomes my authentic self. It is more habitual for me now to do yoga than not to do yoga. So my body demands it. I have no choice but to do yoga now because my body will seize up. It will go, you've got to get out of bed and get into downward facing dog. And it makes me. I get off a plane, I go into the hotel room, it's automatic. And my body now tells me such a different story if I've done it or if I haven't done it, if I've been eating fruit or if I've been eating cake. My body's compelling me and it feels so much more wonderful. And I'm much more my true whole self now. Your authentic self is just your habitual self. If you're telling the story, oh, I just had a thought, don't know if it was worth mentioning, then that's the story you're telling, and you're telling your brain that and you're telling the room that. I don't think it's female. I think it's learned. We're a product of the patriarchy, and fuck the patriarchy. I will not apologise to it anymore. What do you think? I want to give you a right to reply to that because I think, I really want to hear what you think.
I also worry that maybe I've misrepresented her words a little bit and not really explained it.
No, I've heard this before. It is a school of thought. Whether it's her exact words, it is a school of thought.
Yeah. I don't know. I do really appreciate actually hearing sort of another side to it because, I don't know, it's sort of hard to explain. You take in the doctrine, I suppose, of whatever you're told. But at the same time, I do think that we need to call out privilege. I think that's essentially what she was saying, or at least that's what I took it to mean.
Completely. If guys are being steamrollers, tell them. No, absolutely.
And
but again, I don't think it's male. It's just someone who's always given precedence.
Well, she did quote a study. I don't remember who it was by, but I remember it was recent. It was only in 2010, and it involved basically subjects like men and women. They had to make a quick record of whenever they used sorry or they apologized for something, the instances and a quick description of the experience. And basically, women reported more incidences than men. So what they took away from that was that men just didn't see that their behavior needed to be apologized for. And that was what she was sort of getting at. That,
probably guys should say sorry more and we should say sorry less.
Yeah, meet in the middle.
But I don't think it's, I'm a woman and this is how I behave and I can't behave any other way. It's like, are you happy that way? I don't want to attach gender to apology.
Yes, I guess, is it working for you? Are you happy if saying...
Dr. Phil.
Yeah. Yeah, is it working for you? If it's not working for you, then it's definitely worth questioning. I think it's always interesting to see the different side of it and to own it and go, actually, are we just saying, another reason women are wrong, don't do this, behave like men? But I don't think that is quite what's happening. I think it's about being empowered.
I don't think we should behave like men. I think we should behave like powerful women.
Yeah.
And I think that's different. And I do see a lot of negative behaviour from men, and I think I do want to correct that, but I don't want to go... And there's nothing to be changed about me. Like, if I'm happier being more powerful... I don't know, you've changed a lot, Gemma, I think.
Yeah, I have.
Are you happier?
Yeah. I'm in my power now, and whereas before I wasn't. And I'm not saying that I'm, really all-powerful now. I definitely apologise too much. It's ridiculous. But I also am being much more clearer with my objectives and my opinions and my feelings. And I'm not afraid to say... no, but yeah, I think you're right. It makes you feel more powerful to not apologise as much. I mean, I've had this conversation as well, and I wonder why that is. And there are times when I really want my boyfriend to say sorry, and he absolutely should, and he doesn't, and I say sorry all the time, and I wonder why that is.
I don't let it go till we've both said sorry. I'm like, I say sorry, and if he doesn't, I go, and your turn. I am very annoying.
I already feel sorry that I reacted so strongly to your point, and I'm already thinking, but no, there's a point there. And no, I think I react strongly when I hear it, but in fact, you're right, that men need to change their behaviour and women need to change our behaviour because we're all living in a patriarchal structure. If we all change our behaviour and acknowledge our privilege and say sorry when I'm saying sorry when you've done something wrong. Of course, if you've just tipped hot coffee in someone's lap, I don't want to. I read on a listicle that I shouldn't. BuzzFeed said, of course. I'm so sorry. I've tipped hot coffee on your lap, or I'm so sorry. I didn't realise that that was
your lap.
I'm on the path. Whatever.
I really hate the idea that that all men are awful as well. All men, there's that generalisation of all men never say sorry and women do. It's there's some men who apologise all the time and feel the same oppression as to say that men are strong and women are weak and that's the language. I also think is really unfair to men as well. Yeah, think about them sometimes.
That's not going to get you a cheer. That's
No,
not
I know.
gonna get you a cheer.
I was,
No, but
I was trying to win Pete back. That's what that was about.
There are trends. Men are taller than women, but that doesn't tell you anything about Jerry Hall and Rupert Murdoch. Any individuals...
Nothing can tell you about that. That is...
Individuals vary. Individuals vary. So, you know, and also context, guys. And when I'm up here and I have this mic, I'm full of the badass, but not necessarily in meetings, in other conversations, in places where I feel I'm not going to be liked or, you know... This gives you status, this gives you power. And I sometimes think people listen and go, oh, Deb's great, you know, she's like this and blah, blah, blah. And I get tweets from people and I think, if only you could see me. Like...
Well, yeah, it's like, don't raise your idols on the pedestal, isn't it? It's like, yeah, you say, it's important that we talk about it. It's amazing you do this podcast. It's amazing you talk about it. But we're all fallible beings. We all struggle.
Yeah. I apologise all the time and I fuck up all the time. And I mean, that's the whole point of the podcast, is I'm a feminist part.
You can follow The Guilty Feminist on Twitter @GuiltFemPod. Check out our Instagram, instagram.com/The Guilty Feminist. Like our Facebook page, sign up to our mailing list to get notified as soon as a new episode is released. And please, because it does matter, go to iTunes and rate, review and subscribe. It helps other people to find the podcast.
And give it 5 stars. And you might think you've already rated it. Cheer if you've rated it. Okay, you know you can rate every episode.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, you rate it one, but you could sort of go, this is a particularly good episode to listen to. It's got Gemma Arterton in it, Cariad Lloyd. Don't do that before it's gone up, because then they'll be like, Okay, so do you have anything to plug, Gemma? Anything coming up?
Well, you can watch a film that I made last year, my first film as producer, which is called The Escape. And it's all about a woman that doesn't feel any connection with her children and leaves them. And it's about mental disorders. And it's, I think, a feminist film. It's very, very complicated.
Maybe not one for Cariad to watch right now.
Yeah, I'm thinking that.
No, but it's redemptive. It's redemptive.
She comes back 17 years later.
I just go to cinema with the baby, leave the baby there. Hey, Ushers, you want a baby? I just watched this film, I changed my life, it's over. She was being annoying, she cried the whole way through, I missed half the dialogue. Yeah.
That sounds great. So you've produced that film?
Yeah, it's very complicated. I'm not really plugging it, really, but it's doing the festivals this year and I'm quite proud of it. It's very unique.
Wow. Well, I'm totally searching that out. So it's called The Escape.
Yes.
And I think it's going to be a fantasy film for lots of mothers.
Oh, no, I made it sound really awful. It's more about, when men leave their children, people don't really talk about it. And when women do, you're sort of victimised and made to feel like a devil. But actually, there are reasons why people do.
There are reasons why, Cariad. It's all right.
I got good reasons.
It's all right. It's all right.
I don't feel bad.
If you leave, no one will judge you.
If you lived
That's
with
the moral of the story.
If you lived with a flatmate and they woke you up 3 times a night, you'd ask them to leave. Why is it okay? She just wakes up and it's like, oh, we'll deal with it. Well, I think you're being unreasonable.
If you lived with a flatmate who vomited on you 12 times a day...
And made you change their shitty pants. Yeah, that would be weird.
Wanted to live like a parasite off your body.
Hey, we've all... you moved to London, you've got to stay with someone. We've been there. It's true. I suckled heavily in my first flat out of home because, you don't know what you're doing yet. You've got to live in zone 2 somehow. Whatever it takes.
There are men who'll pay good money for that.
Do you want my plugs?
Do you want
my plug? Let's plug something.
Oh, sorry. For a second I thought, plugs for the breasts.
You don't plug them.
Like weaning...
You do not plug them up. You just... Can I tell you what you do? You put breast pads on, which are like sanitary towels for your tits. You just put them on and they just soak up the milk when they're leaking. You look, none of you, you're all very young, you don't understand, but boobs leak. Well, I was telling Gemma this ever, they leak when other babies are crying. Did you know that? Yeah. And a baby in the vicinity and your boobs are like, I gotcha, I'm here. What do you want? And you're like, no, not mine, I don't care.
The restaurant just starts to open.
Yeah, it just goes, oh, there's customers, quick. Bring them in.
I always think it's weird that just a part of your body suddenly gets a part-time job.
It's so weird.
I just think it's like if your niece started dispensing pizza. It's be like, that would be weird, right?
It's so weird.
Yeah. I had a friend, she said, my breasts have always been very sexual to me. She was pregnant, she said, I'm just so nervous about breastfeeding, I just don't know if I'm going to be able to do it, it's just so weird. And her husband said, oh, honey, it'll be really natural. And she went, oh, yeah, how would you feel if the baby wanted to suck on your balls? I said, you'd have a hard time convincing the police officer that's what had happened. The baby had asked for it. That's what the baby wanted.
It kept her quiet.
Okay. What would you like to plug?
I would like to plug an improv show that I am in called Ostentatious, which is improvised Jane Austen. Thanks. We're touring, and you can see us in London, and you can find us on Twitter at Austin Impro if you like improv and Jane Austen. It's really up your alley.
You have been listening to The Guilty Feminist with me, Deborah Frances-White, guest host, Cariad Lloyd, and our very special guest, Gemma Arterton. The recording engineer was Chris Sharp. Music was by Mark Hodge. The producer was Tom Salinsky for The Spontaneity Shop. Thanks to Zoe, Meta, Sally, and everyone at King's Place, as well as all of you for listening. For more information about this and other episodes, visit guiltyfeminist.com.
Have I?
Okay.
Where? I'm so sorry, I couldn't find it. Sorry. I'm so sorry. Where is it?
No, it's there. Sorry, I should have got
I'm
it
so
for
sorry.
you.
No, I'm sorry, I should have known. I'm sorry, I should have known.